We're excited to talk about, well, we're not excited to talk about recessions, but we have updated our recession model, which is pretty exciting. We've got a new factor that we've added in that really will help us sort of hone in on where we are in terms of when we might consider entering a recession or when the probabilities change. So we're going to throw this next chart up, Mike, and first explain who the conference board is and the LEI index.
Yeah. The conference board is a nonpartisan agency that focuses on forecasting peaks and troughs in the business cycle that was established in 1916. And one of the most useful things that they do is publishing the leading economic index, which is it's an aggregation of a lot of short-term and real-time economic data that they've found through their, over a century trying to do this, have a really solid lead on economic activity, forecasting it about 7 months in advance. So these are things like jobless claims, manufacturing hours worked, manufacturing purchase orders, things of this nature. There are a number of other indicators under the hood. And what we found, and this supports their findings and their literature as well, is the 6-month change in the leading economic index provides a really good short to medium lead on recessions. And so that's what we're charting here. The blue line is the 6-month change in the Conference Board leading economic index. They started publishing this going back the late 50s. And you see any time it dips below a 5% decline, that's that dashed red line, it pretty much is right at the start of a recession. So, we're always looking to improve our models. Our recession model previously contained under the hood 13 market-based economic data points and other best-in-class recession indicators. So now our recession indicator includes 14. This is another best-in-class recession indicator that adds value to our models and really helps out in that short to medium-term time period.
Yeah, it doesn't guarantee, but if you just look at this chart, every period that it has fallen below since, was it 1960 on there as a start, it's signaled recession. So perhaps talk about the levels relative to the severity of the recession. So if it just falls slightly below, does that mean an easy recession? If it falls far below, et cetera?
Well, where it is now, so it's the 6-month change is negative 6.3% annualized, which if you were to speak to the conference board, they would say, well, that means we're basically in recession right now.
Right.
But they would also say that that does not necessarily imply anything about the depth or the duration of the recession if it were to happen. Our point of view, the way we look at it is the economy exists in two states. There's not in recession and in recession. And once the economy enters recession, it's very difficult to say, with a tremendous amount of foresight, aside from just seeing how the data evolves, it's difficult to say how deep this one's going to be or how long it's going to be. So if clients ask us that question, we have an answer. I mean, we do a tremendous amount of research on this, but it's not necessarily built into our models. We would rather monitor the data and see when we're actually going to exit than sit here and say, oh, this is only going to be 3 months. This is going to be 6 months. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, it's a great addition to our model, and maybe we can throw up the recession model to look at the changed probabilities.
Yep. And we're seeing similar trends to prior updates of our recession model. Still relatively low probability we're in recession right now. That's primarily due to the strength of the labor market, although the labor market is certainly cooling, and there have been a number of hiring freezes and layoff plans announced. The strength of the labor market is pretty much the reason why it's a relatively low probability that we're currently in recession. However, as we go out to 6, 9, 12 months, you see the probability at the 12-month point is right about the highest that it's been all year. And that is because of one particular indicator that is great at predicting recessions 12 months in advance, and that's the yield curve and the percentage of yield curve pairs that are inverted. Where over 80% of the U.S. Treasury yield curve is inverted. That's the third most inverted yield curve ever. We're actually, for the first time ever, the global bond yield curve is inverted. If you take the Barclays Global Ag Bond Index and you look at the yield on the 10-year plus and the yield on the 1 to 3 year, that's inverted. That's the first time that's ever happened. So that's probably underappreciated.
Yeah,
these things aren't
sure.
just happening in the US. All major economies, or at least the ones that borrow money and issue debt and get put into the Barclays US Global Ag Bond Index, their curves are inverted too.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely an improvement to our model. We're excited that it's in there, and hopefully we will be able to time the recession entry and exit points from an investment standpoint as the data evolves. So more on that later. Until then, if you have any questions, always give us a call.